You had any question or no?
I actually want to ask two questions. What is bondage and what is freedom?
I was asking you, while sitting together in silence, in meditation, you had some taste of freedom or not?
Yes.
So what was freedom? What you felt was freedom?
Just being yourself also me. Just being that, not doing anything, just being.
I'm asking, what do you mean by, what is your meaning of freedom?
Freedom. Actually, this
Freedom to fart.
Actually, this is a question because I don't know, because it's like we hear people always say financial freedom. People use this word quite a lot. So I want to know what real freedom is.
Which word people use quite a lot?
I think like human rights, right? We talk about freedom, right? Like human rights, freedom to be yourself, freedom to do whatever you want. But I felt that is not really freedom.
The smaller the boundary line you have, the more bound you will be. If your boundary line is more extended, then you are less bound. So, bondage means you are living in a limitation, in the world of limitation. You are limited by many things. You are in a cage. If the cage is very small, then you are in great bondage. If you are living in a big cage, then you feel less bound. But if you have a boundary line, if you have a limitation, if you are dependent, then you are in a bondage. So the search for freedom is the search to find something within you which has no limitation, which has no definition, which has no boundary line, which is infinite. Is there something within you which has no boundary line, which has no limitation? Anything which has a form will be limited. You can have a very big form, and something can have a very small form, but all forms are limited. So only something which has no form and no name, nameless and formless, is free, is not in bondage. Anything that is born will die someday. It can have a very long life, it can have a small life, but anything that is born, the very day it is born, its death is also fixed. And being in a body is like being a candle. If you lit the candle, the moment it is lit, it starts becoming smaller. That is how we are in a body. It is a cage, it is a prison. When the child is born, it has more fuel. It has a long life. But every moment it is becoming smaller and smaller. The fuel is being burnt. So, for suppose he has to live for 50 years. Then every year it is getting lesser. Next year it will be 49. Next year it will be 48. So this is how, if it was certain for us, if you knew that how many years we are going to live, that should have been the right calculation. If you are going to live for 80 years and 1 year is gone, then you will live only 79 years now. That is how our years should be calculated, so that you will know you are going to be here only for this much time. And each passing moment you are going closer to the death. So our life should be measured in a countdown form. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, like this. So being in a body is being in a bondage, because it has a limitation. And this body is made up of 5 elements according to ancient sages and seers. So all these 5 elements have come together. They have integrated. So anything which has integrated will disintegrate also. This is bondage. This body will become sick. This is bondage. This body will die one day. This is bondage. These are the limitations of the body. Once you have understood its reality, you cannot live in a fool's paradise. You cannot dream like stupid people. You know that you are here in this body just like a guest. It is a guest house. So bondage means you have a limitation. Bondage is like a bird in the cage. When the same bird is in the open sky, it is more freer. In the same way, in the gross sense, if you have more money, you become more freer in a way. You can buy more things. You can have a bigger house. If you have more power, then you can control more people, more things. So, this is also small freedom. But those people who are really wise, they understand that the real bondage is within you. Your bondage is the bondage of your greed, your lust, your anger. Your desire. If you are desiring hundreds of things, you are slave to those things. You are bound by them. Because this body is made up of sex cells. The whole body is made up of sex cells. So you have a biological bondage. You are compelled to go into sex. This is bondage. You are not free. You are not the one who can choose. You are a slave to your taste bud. And these are the greatest bondage. The bondage of biology. Sex and food. Because we have no mastery over it. If you were free to choose, if you want, if I am free whether to take coffee or not, it's in my power. Coffee is not powerful over me. I can, if I want, I will take. If I don't want, I will not take. Then you are not bound. But we are addicted to food. If something is very tasty, then we become blind. Whether that thing will be good for your health, or it will be poison, you forget it at that time. You become totally unconscious. First you will eat it, then you will suffer its consequence. This is bondage. In the same way, when sexuality overpowers us, then we have no mastery. We are not the master. We are pulled. We are overpowered. This is bondage. Freedom means knowing something within you which was never born. If something is not born, it will not die. Knowing something within you which has no form. If something has no form, then it has no limitation. Anything which has form has a limitation. Something which cannot be defined, anything which can be defined is limited, has a boundary line. Something which has no name, you can give name only to things which can be defined. So when you have a desire for freedom, that means freedom is intrinsic. Freedom is there. Freedom is your very nature. Otherwise this desire would not have been there. When the thirst is there, there must be water also. Otherwise the thirst will not be there. Even in the candle light, when the candle is lit, in a way the flame is not a thing. It has no fixed form also. It comes out of nothing and it goes back into nothingness. It is a kind of something mysterious. In the same way, your consciousness, it has no form and you cannot find it anywhere. It is not, you cannot pinpoint that there is consciousness. It has no center, or you can say it has center everywhere, and it has no circumference. But it has no particular center. This is the, you can say everywhere is its center. It is immanent. You cannot pinpoint that in the body their consciousness is only here. It manifests and it becomes unmanifest. It is never born, so it will never die. So the search for freedom is the search to know something which has no limitation, which has no boundary line, which is infinite, which is never born, so it will never die. All those things which you have gathered, you are not that. You have gathered this body. It is a kind of collection of food which you have taken. You have gathered all the knowledge from outside. All your thoughts are coming from outside. You were there before any thought appeared. And you will be there when there is no thought. So when you are not identified with this body, when you are not identified with any thoughts, when you are not identified with your moods, your feeling, your emotions, you are just a witnessing consciousness. This witnessing consciousness, is your very nature. Because if consciousness is not here or not there, whatever you want to say, You cannot even know that you exist. So you are that knower. Prior to everything else, the knower is there. Or better to say, this possibility, this potentiality of knowing, you are that knowing. When you are established in your very nature, this is freedom. When you are identified with things which you are not, which comes and goes, which appears and disappears, then you are in bondage. When you are identified with your ideas, with your beliefs, with any philosophy, when you are identified with any religion, when you are identified with any country, these are all boundary, these are all bondage. When you are not identified with anything, then you are free. Osho has said that there are 3 types of freedom. Freedom from, that means all those things which you have become wrongly identified with. Get rid of all those things. Then there is freedom for. It is freedom from is negative. Freedom for is positive. Freedom to create something. Freedom to make this world more beautiful. Freedom to create poetry, music, art, literature. And then the most subtle, the greatest freedom is just freedom. Neither for nor from. Freedom from even these. Just freedom, pure freedom. Okay, is it clear?
Very clear, Swami. If you like our videos, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.